Hey guys, welcome to this For Whoever reading. Let's jump in and see what messages want to come out. Messages for whoever needs to receive this. I hope y'all are doing well. All right, we have the moon, intuition, subconscious, emotions, fear, deceit. Things are not as they appear. Okay, so there could be a little bit of some emotional upheaval here. There could be things that, you're just not seeing very clearly. And so there's just a little bit of an elusive energy at play here. Let's go deeper into this reading and see exactly what's happening in this situation. Messages for whoever needs this. Okay, I have intellect. Okay, so again, this might be something that maybe you're thinking a little too much into and it's creating a little bit of illusion in a situation, or it may be something that is requiring you to kind of get a little bit stable-minded and not buy into some things that might be playing out, some fears, some worries, some paranoias that might be affecting your ability to think clearly in this situation. Okay, let's go further into this and see. Messages for whoever needs to receive this, please. Show me clearly. Okay, took a minute to come out, but the messages that need to come out sometimes will take their time, so apologies for that. I have forgiveness and grimness and appreciation and greed coming out. So there might be a situation that, things weren't exactly as they seemed. So they might have created a little bit of an emotional upheaval here. And, someone maybe was just not exactly acting in the best interest of everybody involved. Maybe they got into a place where maybe they were just a little bit self-indulgent, and so they were taking actions and making decisions and things and weren't exactly, considering your feelings or your opinion on the situation. And so it looks like there's a little bit of forgiveness that might be needing to happen in this situation, not necessarily with that person, but it could be. But it could be a forgiveness that you just kind of have regarding the situation so that you can move on. This doesn't necessarily have to be an actual conversation that you have with this person, but usually it's one that needs to be had within you in order to find an acceptance with this situation so that you can then heal and move on from it. Okay. This might also be someone wanting to reach out and seek forgiveness of you. Okay. So maybe you were just a little underappreciated in this situation. I have masks behind the folding screen. Okay. So again, things just aren't exactly as they seem. Someone here is just kind of, maybe wearing a false mask. Maybe they're pretending to be someone that they're not, or maybe they're just kind of in your relationship or your friendship, and, things aren't exactly as they seem. Maybe they are, saying that they're your best friend and that they have your best interest at heart and they're giving you advice on things. And maybe they're giving you information that is just really more conducive to, their benefit. This can play out in a lot of ways. This can even be like, a mean friend group that is just kind of like, talking behind your back. This can be, a relationship where someone is just maybe talking to other people. I mean, this can play out in a lot of ways. Let's get a little bit further into this situation and see exactly what's happening with the tarot. Let's take a look at the overall energy of the situation, please. Overall energy of the situation, please. I have the Fool card here. Okay, so in the overall energy, it's asking you to, take a risk and go in a whole new direction, whether this is something you ideally want to do or maybe you don't. It's just time to move on from a situation here, okay? This may also be, indicative of you maybe feeling a bit foolish for having been involved in a situation like this. And now you're seeing that, this wasn't exactly good for you. You weren't exactly comfortable in it. And now it's just time to move on. You're maybe seeing a situation or a person, for their true colors and what it actually is now. Let's take a look at the recent past of this situation. Recent past. I have the Empress here. Okay, so in the recent past, you were just feeling really good. You were feeling really good about a situation. You were feeling really good about yourself. And maybe here, you're being a little bit hard on yourself. Sometimes we make mistakes. We go into things that, we find weren't exactly good for us. And then we begin to kind of take it out on ourselves. We begin to blame ourselves. And, downplay and down talk ourselves, and it kind of puts a little bit of a, less than good feeling in us. And so, what might be happening here is that, you're a very intelligent person. You're, very emotionally stable, very loving, kind, generous, very willing to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. But, you're maybe not being appreciated and valued for what you actually are. And maybe you're putting yourself in situations where people aren't seeing your worth and value the way that they should. Okay. Let's take a look at the present energy here. Present energy. I have the hangman. Okay, so when we get into little bits of situations that are difficult, maybe other people are, wreaking havoc in our life in some way. In those transitionary periods, we're put in a little bit of a holding period, and we're being put in that holding period so that we can kind of take a step back from the situation and gain a better clarity on it. We can kind of zoom out from the little bit of the picture and see the bigger picture at play here, and see that things were actually, playing out for us for our highest good. In the moment when things happen, and don't go exactly the way that we had hoped that they were going to go out, would go, then we tend to kind of get into a little bit of an emotional and mindset upheaval. We begin to, like I said, get into those bouts of self-doubt, self-esteem, self-worth issues. And so what this calls for is an immediate step back so that you can gain a better clarity on what's happening here. Okay. So right now you're in this little bit of an energy where you're needing to kind of take a look back on this situation that's played out and what exactly happened here. And if what you're thinking is actually correct, or if it's maybe just something that maybe, you were just thinking about because you're blaming yourself for something that happened that wasn't exactly, your fault. Let's take a look at the near future in this situation. Okay, I have here the Page of Cups and the Six of Pentacles here. Okay, so here in the near future, it looks like you're going to be able to find that forgiveness within you. Like I said, this doesn't necessarily have to be an apology that you give or get from someone else. It could be with this Page of Cups. This definitely could be an apology from someone, a friendship, or, a family relationship, a job that could be extending their apologies to you for what went wrong. Maybe, they, for a moment, like I said, weren't exactly thinking clearly either. And so they weren't really considering everybody involved in this situation. And so maybe they made a mistake. Okay. And so whatever this is, either, they're offering to, seek forgiveness and you're willing to give it. And then, things can become rebalanced. And maybe they're saying, hey, I'm willing to work on this and make things better again. And there's going to be a more balanced energy in the situation. Or this may be just you, that you're finding that forgiveness in your own self and moving on from that situation so that you can then balance things out in your life and kind of get on with things and move beyond it. Okay. Let's get a little bit of advice in this situation for you. Advice, please. I have the Star card coming out here. And this is saying the advice is that things will get better. Just give it time. You might be feeling a little bit stuck, a little bit stagnant right now in that place where you're trying to look back on everything, and come to terms with how things have played out. But it's saying that, just take care of yourself, love yourself, nurture yourself, be kind to yourself, give yourself grace. Okay. Allow yourself to even forgive yourself for, making maybe some mistakes that you think weren't in your best interest, and getting yourself in situations like this. It's not something you can really help. You can do your best, but you can't control what other people do. Okay. So this is saying, healing is going to take place if you allow it. Let's take a look at what's hidden, what you're not seeing, help you find more clarity on the situation. I have the Nine of Cups. Okay, so this is just kind of nurturing yourself again. This is taking your own wants, your own needs, your own emotional well-being and fulfillment as your priority. So what's hidden in this situation is that maybe what came out of this is that you actually now are going to be very clear on what your worth and your value is and what you deserve. So that way, when you go out into new situations, you're going to understand very clearly and very quickly what's good and what's not good, what feels, right for you, what doesn't feel right for you, when someone's being in alignment with where they should be with honor and integrity in their dealings with you, or when they're not, and when to exit those situations. So this is really going to be the blessing that comes from all of this. Okay. Let's take a look at what you don't see coming in the next week or two. What they don't see coming in the next week or two, please. What they don't see coming. I have the Four of Wands here. So what you don't see coming is things are going to begin to stabilize. You're going to be feeling really good about things once again. And maybe you're going to be really excited for what's going to come out in the future here. You're going to get into a place where you're feeling solid, stable, good and ready to just kind of get out there and, celebrate life once again. So everything looks really good for you. Just take a moment to yourself, give yourself grace, allow that forgiveness to take place for your own well-being, and understand that you are worthy of really good things, and make sure that you stick to that, and make sure that other people, stick to that too for you. I hope that you found this reading to be helpful. And until I see you again, take care.